Alright, hey guys, and welcome to the Avengers Endgame 2019 film review. And well, I just watched this film like a few hours ago, so while it's still fresh in my head, and I do have a problem remembering things, usually in really big and long movies. And this was a 3 hour film, so it's considered a really long film, but it's not really a big film because it didn't really have that much in it. So if I do miss out on things, do try to help me out as much as possible. But I do have most of it in my head, and I'm just gonna like point out the key things in the film. And if I do miss out anything, maybe I'll make another future edit on this, or maybe in another future Avengers film, because man, this film just kind of threw me off quite a bit. Is It was super disappointing, to say the least. It was messy. It had so many plot holes. Uh, Being a comic book film about, like superpowers, this is science fiction, and the science fiction, like the science of it was so bad, and the fiction of it was also so bad. This movie kind of sets us back from all the years that we have taken to build, like to come to this time and place where we finally have an Avengers film that is in its conclusion. This is the first time we have such a thing. The MCU is the first one to have brought the Marvel Avengers to a conclusion film, and they completely messed it up. And do not believe any of the reviews that you've seen on Rotten Tomatoes, some paid reviews on IMDb, and there are some other websites that are not too famous that you could probably check out. But if you sort by the negative reviews, you would actually see a very honest perception of what's really happening. And none of those bad reviews are bullshit. Everything that they are saying, like I checked most of them, maybe not all of them, but most of what they're saying is true. The movie is bad, and there are so many plot holes to it. There are so many things that just were out of character, didn't make sense. So before I continue ranting about it, I'm just gonna go straight to the point and tell you that this is a spoiler movie. So if you have not watched it and you don't want spoilers, please leave now. You have 5 seconds to do so. All right, that's it. Your time's up. So if you're still here, you probably want the spoiler version of the film. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give you my ideas on it. So first things first, the movie starts off with them showing a scene of Hawkeye, who is with his family, and this is prior to the events of Endgame. And this is actually happens at the end of Infinity War, the timeline. So what happens is he's with his family, and then they get affected by Thanos' snap, and they disappear. So you see Hawkeye kind of go through this emotional change. That the scene just cuts off in that very tragic moment when he realizes his family is missing. So this kind of gives you the impact of how most people felt. Some people could have been in such shock that they didn't really feel sad about it immediately, because it took them time to realize what actually happened. Like if you didn't really see people disappearing, you wouldn't know. And you'd probably find it out from someone else that this has been happening all over the world, and that comes into reality. So you kind of get that general idea. But then the film like takes you to a very comedic scene of Tony Stark and Nebula playing this little kind of tabletop, little like I don't know, football game or something. It's like a paper football game. They're playing it on the table and they're having fun, and it's cool. Like this is a decent amount of relief. They are not showing comedy. They're just showing two people trying to have fun to survive deep space. So it is still a little bit dark in that sense, where they're still trying to set the tone. They're trying to bring down the pace of what really happened after Infinity War, because Infinity War was such a rushed ending that, I mean, it's not rushed. The pacing was great, but what I mean is that it was such a tragic ending that everything felt so fast, and some people may have needed time to digest it. And the beginning of Endgame is basically the time given to digest this fact, which was great. Problem is, I don't think these I don't know, I don't want to say filmmakers, because they are great people, but I don't think they understand fully how pacing works, because having a long movie doesn't equal to slowing down the pace of a film. So almost 1 hour of the beginning of Endgame was spent just showing about these characters, detailing things, letting the emotions run through. But then again, the emotions were not really there on the screen, because it doesn't take, like, you don't really see in depth how these characters suffered. You don't really see them in a state of despair. They don't show you much of the world. They only show you the faces of the Avengers. They don't show you like people like having prayers, or like building up a broken bridge because half of the engineers are missing, or plane crashes throughout the world and people like the pilots went missing from the planes. They don't show you like scenes of satellites having crashed to Earth from Thanos' invasion, or maybe like a lot of orphan kids, getting chaperoned to school. None of those kinds of things. Like half the world is missing, but you don't get to see any of that. Instead, you just see scenes of these Avengers discussing the fact that half of everything is gone, and they're trying to like keep their cool and trying to move on and stuff. And then this ridiculous thing happens. Okay, so back to the part, Tony and Nebula are playing this little paper football, and it's back to that scene when Captain Marvel, out of nowhere, she just shows up, and of course Tony is struggling to survive on the ship because they don't have enough resources. Nebula, on the other hand, I don't know whether she runs on a nuclear reactor or something, but she could indefinitely live to outage Tony for sure, so she's fine. But Tony's going to die on the ship because he's out of resources, so he gives like a speech to his helmet, his Iron Man helmet, to record his like last wish. And then all of a sudden, Captain Marvel shows up and just carries the entire ship and flies it straight to Earth. It's just very, I would say, haphazard. Like you're jumping from emotional scene of Hawkeye to this little scene of Tony and trying to understand. I don't know if he's trying to understand, just trying to survive with Nebula, and then the next scene is him being flown to Earth by Captain Marvel, and they're there like immediately. They're back on Earth, and everyone is just like getting to know the fact that Tony's back, and Tony is like talking to Cap, blaming him and blaming them, saying that they didn't do anything when he was fighting Thanos in space. Like they were defending the Earth. But I guess Tony doesn't really understand that. Well, just to emphasize, Tony never really understood the Winter Soldier killing his parents under mind control as well. So I guess he's kind of dumb in that sense, even though he's smart in everything else. So Tony is kind of worn out from the intergalactic travel, so he needs to rest. So he gets some rest, and then Captain Marvel just says that we're gonna go and bash Thanos up and get the Infinity Stones and undo everything, and everyone is just like, "What? Just like that?" And it's like, "Yeah, just like that." You see that scene in the trailer, and that's exactly what happens. There's no real planning in terms of how they're going to take on Thanos. They just find out his coordinates from Nebula, because apparently he has told Nebula his plans or something when she was younger. And then they travel to where Thanos is. And this is the funny thing. In Infinity War, Thanos basically snaps off half of everything, right? This is random. So there's no guarantee anyone is going to exist except for Thanos himself, because he was the wielder of the gauntlet, which makes sense. So in those events, it seems like Captain Marvel she says in this film like she was busy handling problems in other planets, which is why she didn't care about Earth. But even she did not know when Thanos' army was coming to Earth to take the remaining Infinity Stones to destroy half of all life. Like if she was addressing the fact that she's so knowledgeable and powerful to defend so many different planets in the universe or whatever, she had no idea Thanos was coming still. So War Machine kind of takes a jab at her, saying, "Where were you when all of this was happening?" And she's like, "There are other planets that I have to defend." But then again, she still needed to come, to help defend Earth from Thanos getting all the stones and destroying everything, because that's what still happened. So War Machine was right to take that jab, but Captain Marvel's reply was just so awkward. Like, you get my point. Anyway, so they go to find Thanos in his planet, and here's the thing: in the end of the Infinity War, he snapped half of everything, so he should technically have half of his army left. I'm not really don't want to go specific into how percentages work, but let's say he still had a small portion of his army left. His army are like clones, right? These outriders, whatever you call them. They're like some kind of cloned alien species. They definitely don't speak. They don't fit in as an intelligent species. They're just there doing Thanos' bidding. And for some reason, they're all missing. Like, what did Thanos do with them? No one knows. His generals are all dead from the last war, so it's just him. That kind of makes sense. But apparently, he has no followers, no one who's worshipping him for what he has done. I'm pretty sure he would have had some fanatics who actually, like agreed to his ideals. He had a fantastic ideal in Infinity War, and if someone so powerful, so great, so grandeur had such an ideal, just like how the Ebony Maw worshipped him, I'm pretty sure he should have had like a bunch of people worshipping him who actually, decided to live with him. But no, there's no such thing. Thanos is just on his own on a planet. Captain Marvel kind of scouts it out, and then the Avengers go down and then they beat the crap out of him. And then they find out that Thanos had used the stones to destroy the stones. And this was the last time he used the stones. And that energy kind of released a flare. And that flare was the method that they used to kind of track where Thanos was. So yeah, he has destroyed the stones. And after he says he has destroyed the stones, like, of course, Thanos gets defeated by the Avengers in literally 2 seconds. I'm not kidding. Captain Marvel flies down, beats him down, and then they all grab him. And then after he says that he's destroyed the stones, Nebula says that, yeah, my father's telling the truth. He never lies, or something like that. And then Thor just slashes off Thanos' head with his axe. And then everyone's looking at him, and he gives this awkward reply saying, "I went for the head." Like, man, I don't have no idea why they decided to go with that. I mean, I get it. Thor wanted to get back at Thanos for what he has done, but it felt wrong in so many ways because Thanos was weak. His body was like cracking up from all the damage of the power of the stones, and he was just making himself some breakfast from crops that he has, farmed. He's practically harmless at this point, and they already got him. So killing him seemed like the wrong thing to do. Like, that's what a villain would do. Your enemy is defenseless. But I guess if you want to call it revenge for, half of the universe's population, okay, that's fine. So I give that to Thor. Thor did that. So this is where things kind of lose out for Thor. You see, Thor went through a very interesting character development. He was a bit of a comedy piece in the first two films. He went through a lot in Ragnarok. He came back very strong in Infinity War. And the way he redeemed himself was like he was a vital part of the Avengers. He has once again found himself at the top of the food chain of how the Avengers team works. And this is rightfully his, because Thor is in the comics and in most of the cartoons and films a very powerful character. He is equivalent to like the Superman of the Marvel universe. He has the Odin force. He is literally called the god of thunder. He may not actually be a god, as what they say, as an Asgardian or whatever, but he's above all other beings that are on Earth, clearly. He's far superior to them. He's far more powerful. His weapon has the ability to like destroy entire planets. He could, his what's that? What do you call that thing? Stormbreaker. Yeah, Stormbreaker could like defeat the Infinity Gauntlet by itself. I mean, of course, we don't know if Thanos was reserving power to do the snap or whatever. Maybe he just wasn't expecting Thor to come that hard. But still, this power that Stormbreaker wields is actually Thor's power. He's basically channeling his power. So that's how powerful Thor actually is. And for what he has gone through, the dialogue he says in Infinity War, where I have lost a lot of people and I've killed twice as many as what Thanos has. I've lived for 1500 years. All this tells you the maturity Thor carries as a character, and they throw all of that away in this film. He gets nerfed, he gets like into a very bad shape, and his judgments are all wrong. He becomes the comedy he once was. His character's ruined. So if you're a Thor fan, this is a disappointment for you. And I'm a Thor fan, so it's a very big disappointment to me. But that's okay. I can close an eye on one character, but then there's more than that. So after they kill Thanos, they go back to Earth to realize that they have failed, and there's a time jump, meaning the story literally leaps forward 5 years in time. And in those 5 years, a lot of things change. One of those is Thor and his beer belly, which is a terrifying scene to behold, nonetheless. But still, I don't mind it. I don't mind the fact that Thor got so drunk because he failed to make things right, and then he got a beer belly. That's fine, but I mean, they have destroyed Thor's character arc. He should be the one who is now still fit and still strong and leading the remaining Asgardians and helping planets around the universe come back. But Captain Marvel is doing that. Like, what did she do? What did she ever do to get to that? We have never seen her backstory. So if a character like that, so stoic, is helping out everyone, Thor should be doing even more than that. He should be uniting the 9 realms, as he calls it, and they should be showing scenes of that. Not this fat ass like sitting on the bottom of his wooden house somewhere, in Norway or whatever, drinking beer the whole for the past 5 years. It doesn't make sense. It just ruins the character for me. And then they brought in Professor Hulk, which is basically Bruce Banner having found a way to balance his strengths and mind with the Hulk, and they've become one. So now it's just Bruce Banner, and he is the Hulk, so he's always going to be in Hulk form. He looks a little bit more human. He has the intelligence and perfectly speaks and acts like Bruce Banner, except he's in the Hulk's body, so he sounds a little bit deeper, he's much stronger and all that. And he doesn't get angry. So I'm okay with this idea. It's comic relief. It's what it actually is. I don't mind this idea, but it looks like it was purely for comic relief. Like, they could have had a little bit more meaning to it, like he does this so that he could redeem himself in some way, having failed to actually be one with Hulk when Thanos invaded. So now he's realized that he has to become one with Hulk if he is to prepare for worse threats. Because how do they know that Thanos is the end? Literally, the way Tony Stark lived after the first Avengers was that something else is definitely coming. And I'd expect Bruce Banner to do something very similar, but no, he didn't. If he's as smart as they say, he should, but nope, he doesn't. A lot of out of character things. So yeah, then they go to Bruce Banner, and oh yeah, here's the funny thing. So this very lucky chain of event happens, which is a rat, an actual rat, is looking for like food or something, and then it walks into this like unit where Ant-Man had previously dived into the quantum realm, and then the rat triggers a switch that bounces Ant-Man back out of the quantum realm, and he's back after 5 years. So he's back and he realizes what happens, and then he gets to the Avengers, and the Avengers are like, "Oh my God, you're fine and you're alive and all that." And he's like, "Yeah, I was in time, frozen in time, for what I thought was 5 hours, but it apparently was 5 years." Okay, so here's the sci-fi disappointment. So, okay, you know what? I'm going to save the time travel concept for the end of this. So I'm just going to pass that for now. So pass. I'm just going to say pass. So Ant-Man tells them that let's use the quantum realm to actually dive back in time and undo all of this. So they come up with a theory where they have to like find a way to use the quantum realm to go back in time. They go to Tony Stark. He's like, "I'm not going to help you." And then they go to Bruce Banner. He's like, "I don't know how, but I'll try." And then they have some comic relief scenes where Bruce Banner tries some failed experiments with Ant-Man, turning him to an old man and a young boy. And he's like, "Oh, I did time travel, but it's not really what they want. They want to be able to go back in time." So it's a little bit different. And then Tony Stark is like, "Oh, I figured it out overnight," and then he just comes up with a plan and says, "Okay, it can be done." The whole figuring out was not good enough. It's just him like talking to Friday, right? His AI. It's just like, "Oh, you do this, move here, move there," and then, "Yep, time travel, I did it." Yep. It's just absolute trash. Like they could have used Captain Marvel or something to finally give like some weight to that character. They could have made it such that Captain Marvel actually knows, like, could channel her powers, which is the powers of the Space Stone, right? So maybe she could use her powers to like create a portal, which then they find a way to travel back or something like that. But no, they didn't do that. Tony Stark just figures it out overnight. Snap. Okay. A little more to add on to the time travel, but once again, I'm going to pass. So then they agree to go back in time, and here's the plan. So they're going to go back in time, they're going to get the stones from the past, and then they're going to come back here, and then they're going to undo whatever Thanos did. So this past timeline is not the same as their current timeline. Okay, you know what? I know I said I'm going to keep it to the end, but no, I'm not. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to tell you about what happened with the time travel. So the theory is that they're going to go back in time, you're going to get the time stones. But that timeline is not the same as their timeline. So when they do decide to go back, what happens is they make the jump, they successfully make the jump, they go back in time, and Bruce Banner meets up with the Ancient One. So this is the Battle of New York reenacted. So they are all back in New York, and the Avengers are fighting, and the future Avengers are trying to keep themselves hidden from the past Avengers so they don't really clash. But then unforeseen circumstances, so one or two of them actually clash, but that's okay. Bruce Banner first. Bruce Banner meets the Ancient One. He says, "I'm looking for Doctor Strange," and she's like, "You're early. You should come 5 years later." It sounds like the Ancient One knows about what's happening in the time travel issue, but she doesn't, because Bruce Banner tells that Stephen Strange is the one who gave the time stone. She's like, "What, he did? Oh, maybe it's my mistake." So wait, like, do you know about time or do you not? It's kind of weird, but okay. So he tells the Ancient One that we need the time stone from you, because Ancient One's keeping it at the time. We need the time stone from you to like go to our place and undo what Thanos did. And then Ancient One is like, "But if you do that, you will destroy our reality, because the Infinity Stones need to remain in every different unique reality. So in our reality, if you take the time stones to your reality and undo things, our reality will get destroyed." But Bruce Banner says that no, we will return the stones to your reality after using them. So apparently you can take the stones out of the reality for a certain amount of time, not sure how long, but if you bring it back before that, everything is back to normal. This is the theory they came up with. And then it gets worse from there. The quantum realm has absolutely no sense of how it can take you back to the past. The quantum realm makes you really tiny and really small, so it slows down time for you. That's what the idea was. That's why the Wasp was like, stuck in time all those years when she went into the time zone, and then she came back to meet Hank Pym. She was still okay, she's still alive and everything. And same goes for Scott. Scott felt it was 5 hours, but it turned out to be 5 years. So time slows down. But that doesn't have anything to do with time travel, like going back in time. But okay, whatever. Maybe Tony Stark actually already knew how time travel works, and then he just needed the quantum realm to kickstart the time travel. So yeah, okay, they managed to do that, and then they're saying that the realities are different. So in the fact that the realities are different are proven in one very important scene, where the future Nebula shoots her past Nebula because the past Nebula is still evil, and when she kills the past Nebula, everything is fine. The future Nebula doesn't get affected. So this makes sense because the two realities are different. And then there's one scene, the ending, the very end scene. Let me just get this out right away. The very end, Captain America is sent back to the past to return the stones, but he decides to stay in the past because he wants to be with Peggy Carter. All right, and then they're like waiting for 3 seconds for Cap to come back. So they're like, okay, Cap, you can go in now. 3, 2, 1. Cap is gone. It's like, okay, you're back in 3, 2, 1. He's not back. And then suddenly, like all of a sudden, there's an old Cap in the corner, like just waiting for Falcon to walk up, and Falcon's like having this scene like, "Oh, Cap, so you're back from the past. How was it? You know, how was your life? Did you make the right decision?" It's like this old Captain America sitting down on the chair, and he's like, "Yeah, it was worth it, and whatever, and all that." But that makes absolutely no sense because we established that the realities are not connected. So if Cap goes back to the past, that's another reality. That reality is not connected to this one. So there shouldn't be an old Cap in the corner there. That's not how time travel works. That the theory was absolute trash. I mean, I expected so much from the time travel theory, knowing that that was the only thing that they could do to get everyone back, and they messed that up. Wow. Wow. Seriously, guys. All right, so I know I jumped ahead just to get the time traveling theory out of the way, but now that is out of the way, so I'm going to go back to the plot. Okay, back to the plot. So yeah, Hulk met with the Ancient One, got that out of the way. Tony tries to get the Tesseract back, and this is another absolutely bullshit scene because what happens is Tony has a plan where the Ant-Man kind of okay, so do you remember the Battle of New York in the end of the first Avengers where everyone just kind of surrounds Loki and they give this cool shot of all the Avengers just like, looking at Loki, and then Loki is done. So what happens is the Tesseract gets taken into a box by Hydra, and Hydra takes it away. So in this scene, Tony Stark is supposed to steal it from Hydra. So wait, am I getting this right? Space Stone and the Tesseract. So there's two. One is the space, or is it a Mind Stone? Oh, Mind Stone. Yes, Loki's staff has the Mind Stone. So one is the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone staff is taken by Hydra. Okay, the Mind Stone staff is taken by Hydra. The Tesseract is taken by Thor together with Loki. So Thor is going to take Tesseract and Loki to Asgard. So Iron Man is going to steal the Tesseract from Thor. And then what happens is, as Iron Man is trying to get it, he and Ant-Man try to get it. And then they kind of mess it up. The Hulk knocks into Tony. The Tesseract falls down. Loki, who is handcuffed, grabs the Tesseract and teleports out. Okay, so at that point I was like, holy crap, like, it's over for them. Loki's got the Tesseract. You can never get him again. He's like the trickster. And then in Cap's scene, Cap fights old Cap. Kind of fan service. I'm a fan of fan service, so I'm okay with that. Guess what? I'm not complaining about fan service, guys. I have too many other things to complain about, honestly. So, yeah. So Cap fights old Cap, and that's a cool scene. And then Cap gets the Mind Stone, which is Loki's staff, away from Hydra, away from the old Cap, and he brings it back to Tony Stark, the future Tony Stark. And then he tells him that, so I got this, but Tony is like, yeah, but I screwed up. I couldn't get the Tesseract. And then Iron Man says something about there's another place where the Tesseract could be, and then they figure out that the Tesseract could be somewhere with Shield because they were experimenting with it or something like that. And that doesn't make sense. Like, in the original timeline, yes, the Tesseract should be there because it goes through all this enforcement and then it ends up there. But in this timeline, Loki took it. Loki teleported with it away. So that means that other time jump was to another reality altogether. So these are several different realities we are talking about. So Tony and Cap go to that other reality now to get the Tesseract. I hope it's not the same, because if it's the same reality, they messed up again because Loki took it, not Hydra. And then so they got the Mind Stone, they got the Space Stone. Sorry, the Space Stone. The Hulk got the Time Stone, and then the Power Stone apparently is with Thanos himself, and Nebula is supposed to get it. So yeah, Nebula and War Machine are supposed to go and get it. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. So War Machine and Nebula go to the point where Star-Lord is going to take the Power Stone at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. So they go, they beat up Star-Lord, and then they get the Power Stone. And then for some reason, I remember Star-Lord having an encounter with some enemies, but this time they don't show up when Nebula is stealing it. So it's kind of weird that they didn't show up this time. But whatever, Nebula and War Machine get the Space Stone. So this is the point where Thanos kind of has, like the old Thanos is existing in like the nearby vicinity. And then the old Gamora apparently has like a neural link to the new, sorry, Nebula. The old Nebula has a neural link to the new Nebula. So for some reason, the old Nebula can actually project the new Nebula's memories. And Thanos gets to watch the entire timeline happen, just like how we watched the Avenger films. He watched it out of Nebula's like projection, and he manages to watch all of this within like such a quick time frame. I don't even know how you watch the entire timeline in such a quick frame. I don't know whether you watch it in like 4 times or 16 times speed or whatever, but that was a very weird scene. Maybe they like skipped to certain parts so they didn't see all of it. All right, it kind of makes sense. So Thanos has the idea that they are actually here trying to undo what he did. So he realizes his success, so he wants to keep it that way. So he captures the new Gamora, the future Gamora. Sorry, why am I saying Gamora? Nebula. He captures the future Nebula. He, tracks her down with the old Nebula, and then the old Nebula beats up the new Nebula, and then the Thanos has this idea to send the old Nebula to the future to pretend like she's the new Nebula. And they do that. So Nebula travels to the future, with War Machine. Apparently, War Machine makes the jump first, and then Nebula makes the jump later. And there's no suspect whatsoever about how, although War Machine and Nebula came at the same time, War Machine went back first. War Machine is not surprised that Nebula was stuck or took her time or anything like that. He's just like, okay, so you made it after all. And it was really weird. Like, you would at least suspect that something was wrong when Nebula took her time to make the jump, but nothing like that. So everyone else comes back. The only terrifying scene was Black Widow and Hawkeye. So Black Widow and Hawkeye have to go to Vormir and get the Soul Stone. So if you have all experienced the Wrath of Infinity War, in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to make a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the person you love the most. And then Black Widow and Hawkeye are basically competing to try to kill themselves because they both don't want to sacrifice the other person. And then it comes down to Black Widow making the self-sacrifice, and Clint Barton, Hawkeye, not being able to hold on to Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, as she slips and like lets go of the grip and falls to her death. And then Hawkeye wakes up with the Soul Stone. So then they all come back to the future. So the only one who didn't make it back is Black Widow and the future Nebula. So the past Nebula is the imposter now. Everyone else is back the same as they were. So, okay, now they're back. They need to make an Infinity Gauntlet to use the stones. So here's the thing. The previous Infinity Gauntlet was made by a dwarf, the last of its kind, in this place what they call Nidavellir, I think. I don't know whether I'm saying it. Nidavellir. I think it's Nidavellir, and it's the heart of a dying star. Thor had to go through hell to get it working, and then they got it, and then they made the Infinity Gauntlet, which means that's how much power you need to forge something that can wield the Infinity Gauntlet. Tony Stark builds one with a bunch of scraps in a cave. No, I'm just kidding. He builds an Infinity Gauntlet in his laboratory using his Iron Man nanotech metal. Like, what on earth? I have no idea how they pulled that out of, I don't know whose ass, but they pulled it. And that's the crap we got. Tony Stark building an Infinity Gauntlet made out of like his Iron Man parts, and he can fit stones. And they're just discussing on who's going to use the gauntlet. So this is about 2 hours in, and I kind of understood that the last hour is probably going to be the entire action battle scene sequence or whatever. First 2 hours was an absolute failure. We probably got like 15 good minutes. Black Widow's sacrifice, Hawkeye's turn of heart, and the dark events that's taking place. How Hawkeye is, he's now Ronin, and how he's murdering people because he's lost his family, he's lost his shit. Those two good scenes. How Tony Stark is bonding with his new family, and he's fine with it. He's fine with the losses because he has a new daughter and he has Pepper, and that's all he cares about right now. And then all of a sudden he just wants to like undo things. Very poor character development. It was bad, man. It's just bad. It's so bad. Oh god. And then they decide who's going to use the gauntlet, and Thor is like, I'm going to use it. And they're all like, no. And I don't know why. Like, let Thor redeem himself for God's sake. Everything that Thor went through up to this point is now meaningless. And then Hulk is like, I will use it because apparently the radiation that the stones give out is similar to gamma. What on earth are you crapping, man? Dude, the stones are like, they control things of the universe. Someone as powerful as Thanos, like a titan, was wielding it with an Infinity Gauntlet forged in the heart of a dying star. This is made by Tony Stark, and then the Hulk wants to use it. Hulk is human. No matter how strong they make the Hulk, he was just a guy with a failed super soldier serum experiment and gamma radiation. The Thor is a Asgardian king. He is like a Norse god. He protects the 9 realms. He's like one of the most powerful beings in the universe. And he has been treated to trash. The Hulk takes the gauntlet, makes the snap to bring everyone else back, and then just in time, the past Thanos, thanks to the help of the imposter Nebula, manages to find a portal to teleport him into the future, to the same way the other Avengers came back. And how he does it makes no sense whatsoever. Once again, the reason for that is because the way the Avengers travel back is because they use PIM particles. So PIM particles don't just shrink people, they now help you with time travel. This MCU film says that PIM particles allow you to time travel. Okay, that's what happened. So it's not canon, but we're going to establish it as canon today because this is the crap that we got. And then Thanos, with a single bottle of PIM particles given to him by Nebula, by Nebula, stolen from the future Nebula. A single little vial of PIM particles teleports his entire battalion to the future, his entire armada in his ship. So I don't think this is as big as the fleet that he brought in Infinity War. I think it's not, because there were certain types of ships that I did not see here that were in Infinity War. But it was still a pretty big ass army, alright? Then he teleports in, and then right after Hulk makes the snap, everyone is supposed to be appearing back. So people believe people are like believing it's happening. They're getting like phone calls from people who disappeared so long ago and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Thanos like comes like raining down hellfire onto the Avengers base, and then the breach of the time machine that they created not reported to them by any super AI. Friday is asleep. I don't know why Friday didn't report this, even if Friday is not doing it. Must have been some kind of alarm system when someone tries to work the time machine without their care, but the Avengers don't care, so Thanos just suddenly rains hellfire. The entire Avengers base goes crashing down, and then everything is in turmoil. This is the time when the battle begins. Everyone's trying to like pick themselves up to fight. So beyond this is all gonna be just fan service. All right, it's gonna be fan service after fan service of fights, which is great. I'm a fan of it. Um, the action sequences in this film were amazing when they did happen. It's just like the last 30 minutes or so. It was amazing. All of the fight scenes were amazing, except one or two. Okay, I'll tell you what those except are in a bit. So the fight scenes happen. Hawkeye is the only one who wakes up after the attack with the gauntlet next to him. So he runs with the gauntlet. A bunch of outriders chase him. Everyone else is like stuck somewhere or something. Thor is just watching the past Thanos sit down and wait. Here's the thing, right? Thanos had the Power Stone when he fought Thor and Hulk, which was the reason why he was so powerful. Because if they were to like even the odds or like balance Thanos's power, I see that that's roughly where Thanos should be. Thanos should be like not as strong as the Hulk or Thor without the Power Stone, and then with the Power Stone, he's just above the two of them, which makes sense. So this past Thanos doesn't have the Power Stone, but and this Thor is trash. Apparently, a 15,000-year-old being can become trash in 5 years. That doesn't even make sense. Okay, let's just talk about Thor's logic a bit. All right, let's just say that Thor is uh what how could I say, in human age he's probably like what, close to 40. Let's just say he's in his late he's like middle age. All right, let's say he lived to 80, so middle age is like 40. So let's say Thor is middle age, so that's 1500 years, which means Thor can live up to 3000 years. So 3000 years, let's bring that down to human years. So that's like what, 100. Let's say humans live for like 100 years, so that's like 30 times. So Thor is like 30 times, he can live like 30 times longer than humans. So 5 years for us is like 30 times lesser for him. You get what I'm saying? So it's probably like what, hang on, let me just calculate this out. All right, so 5 years divided by 30 is like 0.16 of a year. All right, let me just times that with like 0.16 times with the 12. It's like a month or so. For him, it probably feels like a month. 5 years, all right, or 2 months, give or take. So for someone who has been training his body and mind for 1500 years, a beer belly in 5 years is impressive, to say the least. But his battle experience, his strength, his stamina should all kick in. His metabolic rate should be insane. His lightning powers should be like way off the charts. Even though he looks like having a beer belly and all worn out, it's just 5 years. For him, it's 2 months. If you've been training your entire life to be a warrior, 2 months will not put you off. 2 months of bad dieting, eating chips and drinking beer will not do anything to you. Let alone if you are like a Asgardian near god-like character. And he fights as strong as Captain America. That's how bad they brought him down. He's as strong as Captain America in this film. And Captain America is so much stronger. He could okay, so Captain America lifts Thor's hammer. Thor, when he went to the past, he also brought back the past Mjolnir. So now he has Mjolnir and Stormbreaker with him. What happens to the Thor in the past? No one shows. No one cares about the Thor in the past, apparently. Apparently, no one cares about alternate timelines, because screw them. They only care about themselves. They're selfish. So Captain America wields Mjolnir and goes to bash Thanos up. And they have a really good fight scene between Cap and Thanos. It's a really good fight scene. And here's the funny thing: Captain America uses more lightning bolts than Thor. An Asgardian warrior who's been training for 1500 years fights worse than Captain America, who's lived for like what, 30, 40 years? I mean, I know he's old because of he was frozen in the ice, but he didn't train for that many years. He was frozen. You can't train when you're in ice. I mean, that makes sense, right? So yeah, it's just bad the way they showed Thor. The fact that they showed Thor that way made the balance of power for everyone else seem awkward, to say the least. So if you delete Thor from that entire group, things start to make sense, right? So I'm going to close one eye and say that Thor doesn't exist, which is what happened. Okay, Thor didn't exist. The Hulk, who now has an injured arm from using the Infinity Gauntlet because it was so powerful for him, um, he's trying to hold up the Avengers base with one remaining arm. That's kind of cool. Ant-Man goes to save them. Ant-Man expands to Giant Ant, saves Rhodey, Rocket, and the Hulk, and all that. And then Captain America has a wonderful fight scene with Thanos. What is that? Thor has a trash fight scene with Thanos. Iron Man has a few good fight scenes. And then just before Cap, like, kind of is about to give the last of his strength to fight off Thanos for as long as he can, Doctor Strange's portals suddenly appear and open up. And then they realize that all the people who they have snapped back to reality are actually coming to join the fight. So Doctor Strange kind of opens up these mass portals, and then everyone from Wakanda just comes in, and Yibambe, they join the fight. And then I don't know. Cap said this dialogue: "Avengers assemble." It's cool. It's cool. It's a nice dialogue, but he didn't say Avengers attack. So when he said Avengers assemble and they went to attack, it was kind of funny for me. I'm not gonna lie on that. It was funny for me because he said Avengers assemble and they're all like, yeah, like, I mean, dude, I said assemble, not attack. But it's okay. I mean, I give that to them. It was really cool. That scene was amazing. Every Avenger ever managed to gather there, except of course Black Widow, unfortunately, and Gamora. Unfortunately, those taken by the Soul Stone can't be returned. That's the price they have to pay. So that is established as such. And then the fight happens. Spider-Man, Black Panther is back, Scarlet Witch is back, and then they had a good kind of comeback scene for Scarlet Witch fighting Thanos, and then Thanos manages to hold his ground without any Infinity Stones long enough for him to instruct Corvus Glaive to ask the battleships that they have to do a mass attack to kind of wreck the entire battlefield, because there are too many enemies and he doesn't care about his own army. So the battleship keeps firing, and then there's mass destruction all over the battlefield, all the Avengers scattering about fighting so many different people, and then the Avengers trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet across the battlefield. And the reason they're trying to do this is because they want to get the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones back into the timeline of this Thanos. So they're actually trying to get the Infinity Stones back to the original timeline. And in the process, I don't know what their plan was, because you see, the Thanos from the other timeline is now here. So are they going to leave the Thanos from the other timeline here and then send the Infinity Stones alone back? Like, was that their idea? Did they consider the possibility of this Thanos ending up here? Of course, they did not. But should they know what to do if the Thanos ended up here? Yes, they should. I mean, they have like freaking lot of geniuses. What happened to Shuri's genius? Shuri doesn't say a word in this. She appears, she's just there. She has her two like blasters, and her brother is fine with her going to war into a death battlefield all of a sudden. In the previous movie, she was, in like the base in Infinity War, she was like extracting Vision's Mind Stone. In this one, she's out in the battlefield. She's ready to die and whatever. Little girl, poor girl. I wouldn't do that if I was Black Panther. Like if I was her older brother, I'd be like, no, you don't get to fight. You stay and control a giant battle robot. That'd be pretty cool to watch. You can control Hulkbuster, yeah, because no one else is using Hulkbuster because the Hulk is now in his final form. And then you get to see the Winter Soldier, of course. The entire Guardians come back. Falcon comes back. And Falcon comes back with his cheesy dialogue. On your left, yeah, he says on your left, which is what Cap used to tell him. Of course, we get to see Doctor Strange bring his army of all those people who trained in the Mystic Arts. So they all joined the battle. So it's Wakandan army, the Mystic Arts army. That's it. There's no one else, no other army. No galactic troops, no intergalactic battle for the fact that Thanos wiped out half the universe, no such thing. And then Captain Marvel makes her appearance. Man, I hated this part. I don't want to like be a fuss, but I just want to be honest with you guys that I could not handle that scene because Captain Marvel all of a sudden appears. The battleships stop shooting the ground and then start shooting at this thing, and they're like, "Who's that? What are they shooting at?" And then Captain Marvel comes in and just blows up the entire army, destroys Thanos' entire battleship by herself. Um, they make her way too powerful, way more powerful than Thor, because Thor is now weaker than Captain America. Can't even throw a single lightning bolt at Thanos. Not a single one. I'm not kidding. When the fight was going to start, he was like channeling his lightning powers, and then these hammers appeared, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is going to be awesome." Even though he has a beer belly, but no, he was trash. He was worse than his belly. And then Captain Marvel destroys the entire battleship, goes to fight Thanos, and she single-handedly like beats the crap out of Thanos. Thanos is like trying to defend himself. They have like a hand-to-hand combat fight, and then she's like preventing Thanos from like using the gauntlet. And then Thanos does this really smart thing. So here's the thing: every Avenger, when they fight, they have like these action sequences where they're using their knowledge in battle. Captain uses his mixed martial arts. You can see Thor using his like brute force plus mixed martial arts plus 1500 years of fighting that he forgot in his fighting. Hulk just goes smash, and then Spider-Man is like also spidery. He uses the way of the spider, this martial arts technique, this spider sense technique. And then War Machine nukes people. Black Panther is like a very acrobatic fight. And then Captain Marvel just comes and just pew pew boom boom, and then that's how she fights. She just shoots at people, and she punches. That's it. No creativity in her fight whatsoever. Like I was dying to see Doctor Strange like fight Thanos, but Doctor Strange was a side character in this ending because he apparently was the guy who did not want to intervene. So I don't know if like like the way he saw the reality was such that he should not intervene at all, because all Doctor Strange did throughout this entire fight was he held up a wave of like a tsunami that was caused by one of the attacks somewhere. I can't remember. I think Thanos' ship like shot something or something like that, and then a tsunami appeared or something. And then Doctor Strange is like just spending the entire film, like the entire end sequence, his appearance, holding this giant tsunami wave, and that's it. That's all he does. All right, so let's Doctor Strange is out of the picture. So Captain Marvel is fighting Thanos, and then Thanos does a smart thing. Thanos takes out the Power Stone alone from the gauntlet, which he's using to hold Captain Marvel's massive energy, and he takes the Power Stone in his other hand, uses the Power Stone alone to blast Captain Marvel away, and then plugs the Power Stone back into his Infinity Gauntlet. So this Infinity Gauntlet that he's now having in his hand was the Iron Man metal gauntlet that Tony Stark made, that the Hulk used, that is in perfect condition to be used again, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, first of all, you say that Infinity Gauntlet must be very powerful to use the stones. It was made in the heart of a dying star. That Infinity Gauntlet was destroyed in the snap. This Infinity Gauntlet that the Hulk used, that destroyed half of like the Hulk's arm and everything, is unharmed, nearly unharmed. It's in perfect condition to be used again. So apparently Iron Man's metal armor is more powerful than weapons made in Vormir. Whoa, I have no idea where they came up with that kind of ideas, but they did. They did, guys. It was so painful. Like the logic just thrown out of the window. Like that corporation meme where there's this guy who tells that maybe we should make the movie logical. And the three people suggest. Then the boss gives him the look, and he flies out the window. That's probably what happened to the guy who had the brains when they wrote this story. Probably what happened. So, yeah, back to Thanos using Tony Stark's gauntlet to make the snap. Tony Stark makes one final jump to intervene. Iron Man fights Thanos. He grabs Thanos's hand with the gauntlet, and then Thanos pushes Iron Man away, and then he's like, "It's over, I am inevitable," or something like that. And he makes a snap. It's an empty snap, and then it's like shown that, oh no, you didn't have the Infinity Stones. They were transferred to Tony Stark's armor using nanotechnology, meaning the gauntlet that he created kind of nanoed the gems to his armor when he grabbed Thanos. So that's cool and all. Yep, that's cool. Still a little bit out of proportion, but it's okay. It's cool. So Tony Stark now gets the gauntlet, and Thanos said, "I am inevitable" or something, and then Tony Stark says, "I am Iron Man," which is the way they decided to conclude Tony Stark's fate. And that was literally the last dialogue he says, because right after that, he makes a snap, wipes out Thanos' entire army, including Thanos. Tony Stark performs mass genocide the way Thanos did, which makes Tony Stark an equally terrifying, greater good evil guy. And then he dies. So it's a fitting ending for the Iron Man. He was the guy who was kind of how can I put it? Like he was the one having PTSD from the first Avengers. He was the guy under stress all the while. He was the one who wanted to prepare for Thanos. He was the guy who was willing to make any sacrifice necessary to stop this kind of thing from happening, to protect Earth and the people he cares about. So for him making this decision to kill Thanos' army and be the one to sacrifice himself made sense. It was a very good way to end Iron Man's arc and Robert Downey's character as Iron Man. It was fantastic. That ending for Iron Man I enjoyed thoroughly. I actually felt they did justice for that. So yeah, see, if it's good, I'll tell you it's good. All right, I'm being honest. It was good. And yeah, so with him being done, of course they show like a little bit of emotion with Spider-Man, and then Pepper Potts. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Pepper Potts had a very good role in this. She came with Iron Man's one of Iron Man's armor. I believe it's Rescue. I don't know if this Pepper Potts is the same Rescue from the comics, or excuse me, it was a different Iron Man armor to make her some kind of Iron Woman or Iron Lady or something like that. I'm not sure because I know Rescue. That's as much as my Iron Woman knowledge goes. So she was amazing. Her armor was amazing. The tech was amazing. They didn't really show much into how she uses it or her suiting up, because that would have been cool. Like the whole thing about Iron Man is the suiting up. They should have done that for Pepper Potts to give her some justice. Like if you're finally showing Pepper Potts in a suit, at least show her like suiting up. Like, okay, it's time. I need to do this. I need to help Tony, or for the daughter or something like that. But nah, they didn't really do anything like that. So it's that. We come to the ending. And so, yeah, this is the ending where they need to send Cap back to the past to ask him to return the stones. And what he does is, that's the other thing. They send only Cap. Like, they expect only Cap to be able to return all the stones in the past. I don't know how. Like, why not send Thor? Thor can fly. Thor can outlive everyone, even if the time travel fails. Like, he could just come back to the future, like, oh, it's been a few months. I'm fine, guys. I'm just another 100 years old. No big deal. Because it is no big deal for him. 1500 years is insane. Like, think about it. You get what I mean? You get the logic behind what I'm saying? So, but they send Cap. And Cap goes back and he decides to stay in the past. And then all of a sudden, there's this old Cap that shows up. And he's like, I already went through the past and everything, and I'm very happy I decided to stay with Peggy Carter. For me, this was a fail, because they already said that the timelines are not connected. The realities are not connected. There's another realities timeline that they return to. So this Cap, this old Cap, should not even exist, because Cap is gone forever from this timeline. Cap decided to go back to another reality to live on there. a reality which does not have their Thanos anymore because he was killed in the current reality. And that's what happens. And this was also something I was not happy about because it undoes Captain America's character. Because the entire beginning scene is about Captain moving on from his past, the fact that he has lost Peggy Carter, and now half of the world is gone, and he's like trying to help people, telling them that he has lost people too, and they have to move on. And then in the end, Cap doesn't move on; he just goes back and decides to stay in the past. And Cap even made out with Peggy's daughter. Like, dear God, oh God, that was so awkward. I don't know. I think it's Peggy's daughter, right, or granddaughter or something. Sharon Carter. So yeah, he has made out with her. Like he should just stick to her. He went back to like her grandmother or mother or whatever. And it undoes everything that Captain America has stood for. He hasn't moved on. He's back after his like new girlfriend's mom. Yeah, it makes it so awkward. And then he's fine with that, you know. Like after everything that has been through, you might think that he wants to stay on and help this world, but no, he just it's a selfish decision and he makes it, and it's over. And then as for Pepper Potts, Tony Stark is not there anymore. Um, Thor is like talking to Valkyrie and he's telling Valkyrie, you should be the leader of the Asgardians because I'm too fat and I gotta go. And literally, that's what he does. He just jumps into Rocket's ship and then they go on an adventure. And then that happens. Oh God! So Thor will probably be there in the next Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know whether he will still be a fat ass or whether he will like work on his weight or something and then come back to his regular metabolism. Um, his character is ruined. Thor is back to square one. Hulk did. Oh yeah, Hulk didn't really get to redeem himself. That's another very sad thing. After what they did in Infinity War, the only real scene they gave Hulk in this was the snap. They allowed Hulk to do the snap to undo everything, but that doesn't make sense. Hulk's real problem was that he was afraid of Thanos. He lost to Thanos in single combat. So Thanos, like Hulk, should get redeemed by actually taking on Thanos in single combat. So Hulk was, like they kind of failed Hulk. They failed Thor. They failed, like a few other characters. I didn't feed it enough for Black Widow. Like at the start when they showed Black Widow, like kind of leading the Avengers to some extent because Fury isn't around and she's the only one who can direct Shield. It looked like she was doing something really important. Um, and then they try to give her that ending, the sudden death. To some point, I try to feel sad for her because the relationship Clint Barton and Natasha Romanoff had was pretty good. And Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson show that really well. Like the two of them, you can tell them that they have this good chemistry of being good friends. And then the fact they want to sacrifice themselves instead of the other person was really meaningful. Like you could feel that after a while. Like that's how friends would really rant it out. But then again, that was as much as they could give. And then, like the Winter Soldier never did anything else after that. The Falcon was just there flying around, didn't do anything. Drax's family was killed by Thanos. He didn't get any revenge. Rocket was just there. He didn't really get much to do. Of course, he had some comic relief, but he became comic relief. Is that a very good thing? I don't know. But overall, this movie was bad. For me, Infinity War is the best Avengers film that I've seen to date. It was amazing. It had a fantastic backstory, a fantastic villain. It had a very good build-up. It had great character growth. And the only one in Infinity War that was put down was the Hulk. But that was all with the respect that Hulk would get back his place in Endgame, which he didn't. I don't know. I just saw this film like a while ago, and then I'm not happy. I mean, I don't know about you guys. You can tell me your thoughts in the comments. There are 10 out of 10 ratings I saw on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. They're all bullshit. They're all fake. 10 out of 10 is fake. There's no way this movie gets a 10 out of 10. Even if you're like fanboy kid who grew up like drinking the Avengers Milo cans or coffee or whatever. Like I've collected comics since I was in school. I've been Spider-Man, Iron Man fan when Iron Man used to transform from a freaking briefcase, you know? And this is this is very sad for me. This finale was really sad. I wish I never saw this film because the ending of Infinity War was perfect. It was everything I ever wanted in a like an Avengers film, and Infinity War was brilliant. The first Avengers was brilliant. The second Avengers, Age of Ultron, is questionable, but still better than this. This was the worst. It sent a lot of characters back to square one. It didn't give enough respect to most of the characters. The entire 1 hour slowing down the pace of the film could have been done in so many other ways. Having a longer runtime does not mean that you're slowing down the pace of the film. It's two different things, and it's fine. Maybe the directors wanted to take it that way. Maybe they felt that the longer time is the right way to do it. I respect that, but then they didn't respect the characters that they so dearly created, that they worked so hard on all these years to make up so many movies for each of these characters. Thor had 3 films, Iron Man had 3 films, the Hulk had one. Okay, fine. You don't know much about the Hulk, but everyone loves the Hulk. People love the Hulk. Scarlet Witch, she didn't get much. In the comics, she's ridiculously powerful. You should at least respect that. Okay, you're making her young and naive in this film, a widower, if I dare say, because she lost vision and whatever. But you know, the respect and power levels at least be consistent. Like, okay, if you're telling me that Thor is not as strong as Thanos, he is weaker than Captain America. That's how Thor fights. He barely uses lightning bolts. Make it throughout, consistently that. But in Ragnarok, we saw something different. In the ending of Infinity War, we saw something different. We saw Thor go out and say, "Bring me Thanos." No other Avenger dare do that. And then in this, they are pretending that Thor is suddenly afraid of Thanos in one scene. That question didn't even make sense. And Bruce Banner asked him, it's okay if you're afraid of Thanos or something like that. Bruce Banner, how dare he say that to the only guy who stood up against Thanos in Infinity War? Like, only had a chance, like the only guy who had a chance of actually defeating him. Like single-handedly. I'm talking single-handedly. Of course, those who fought on the planet Titan nearly defeated Thanos, but Thor single-handedly nearly did it. Man, I think this review has been like over an hour. It's probably a movie in its own, but I had to get my thoughts out because I had been waiting forever for this film, and it was a disappointment to say the least. I'm gonna leave my rating right here, so I'm just gonna edit my text over here, and I am going to control my emotions and rate this film as decently as I can. I know that this film is based off 10 other films, so I cannot rate this based on the overall performance of all the films. I have to rate this by itself, and I'm rating it a 5 out of 10. There you go. It's what you get. It is what you get. As an overall saga, the entire Avengers saga, which means all the Avengers films. I'm not talking about the individual Thor, Iron Man. I'm just talking about Avengers 1, Avengers 2, 3, and 4. Overall, this saga, for me, is an 8 out of 10. Because it's the first of its kind. It's a very bold and daring saga. It showed us so many things that we would have never seen in any other films. It brought so many wonderful things to the film industry. And for that, I give it all my respect and love. And unfortunately, this film alone, this is the rating. And I'm just gonna put the cancel over Tony Stark's face because that's what happened. Oh man. If you stuck around throughout this entire rant, well, I salute you for that. Thanks for watching. I hope I rewatch this film in a future date and get like a whole new revelation or perception of it or whatever, like I did with BVS or The Dark Knight or something. But I highly doubt it's going to be that. And that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.